Hello, my name is Woody. This is Change in the House of Pods, a podcast about Deftones. My guest on this episode is Kelly Cook, guitarist for Nashville's 30 Nights of Violence. That's Marbled Regression, 30 Nights of Violence from their latest EP, You'll See Me Up There. They've got a couple of EPs and a remix out, but they're cooking up some new music as we speak. And you'll hear a little bit about some of Kelly's musical aspirations for this band towards the end of this episode and how he's been inspired by Deftones and the usual stuff, his favorite songs and what have you. At the end, you'll hear both of us put together our dream set list too, which is cool to think about. You got 10 songs. What do you choose? What's your dream Deftones set list? If you want, share your set list with me. I'd love to see it. I'm at Woodbruh on Twitter and Instagram, WOODBRUH. There's nothing like a Deftones show, man. But if you could build the set list, that would actually be a pretty daunting job. Oh, and speaking of a remix, Black Stallion is finally out, and it's fucking amazing. Off the top, Pink Maggot, Street Carp, and Change are my favorites. The Change remix in the video, high art, truly. Street Carp, I got to put it on repeat because it's too short. Phanogram, been amazing. Defgrams, I want that all day. And Pink Maggot, I might like the remix as much as the original. There's so much to love. Black Stallion, such an incredible addition to the Deftones oeuvre. It's as dynamic and interesting as anything in their catalog. And if you don't like it, we can throw hands. Fight me. Let's go. I'm playing, obviously. I'm a lover, not a fighter, like Chino. That's actually a reference to an old episode, by the way. If you haven't gone back yet, listen to my conversation with Darren Eggleston. He worked at Maverick when Deftones started a fucking riot in 1996, and he was there. And afterward, Peter Steele from Typo Negative punched Chino because of it. Unbelievable story. The Change Pod is available on 93x.com/change-pod. It's on Apple Pods, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, Google, Omni, anywhere cool podcasts are found. And there are a ton of cool Deftones stories here and more to come. So please like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends if they like Deftones. If they don't, help them out. Everybody should like Deftones. You know, I once gave a drunk girl a ride home. I was listening to Diamond Eyes, and when Sex Tape came on, she fucking wept, like bawled. It was awkward as hell, but totally worth it. I mean, people need Deftones, man. Okay, there's a lot to keep track of here. Lots of fun shit to talk about. The set list I mentioned, Steph's guitars. We got sidetracked about 5 minutes in because Steph plays keys on a track that I couldn't recall. It's Beware the Water. Spoiler alert. We talk about which songs 30 Nights might cover, which songs Kelly thinks would be fun to play purely from a guitarist perspective, and we start our conversation with my favorite question: how did you get into Deftones? This is my conversation with Kelly Cook from 30 Nights of Violence.
So, if I'm being honest, actually, I don't remember the exact moment, but I know that the first thing I heard was White Pony, and I think that's because people in my scene were maybe some of the older guys were way into that band. And I think I just heard it in conversation enough. And I'd heard that it was kind of like a legendary album that I was like, all right, I have to check this out. And I was I hadn't heard anything like that before. I'd heard stuff in the new metal realm, but they were new metal beyond at that point. And now they've totally transcended that. But that was the first time that I heard the band. And then I think the next time around was when Saturday Night Risk came out. And that was, I remember hearing Cherry Waves, and I was like, this song kicks fucking ass. And I think I remember I was that was when I started getting into the music scene more. And there was I went to one local show, and there was one band playing, and a girl front of the band. And I told my friend yo, she's cute. And then he's later he's I'm auditioning to be the drummer of that band. I got you I gave your number to the girl. So we went out on a date, and before I was getting myself psyched, and I was listening to Deftones to get myself in the zone.
That's rad.
We're obviously not together anymore, but but
you fucked up the story already. No, I'm just kidding.
And then we fell in love, and we've been together ever since.
So like how old were you then?
I must have been like 15, 16.
So were you then like what and that was like when Saturday Night Wrist came out, was you were like
Yeah.
15, 16, and getting
Yeah.
into what scene?
It was like the like metal and hardcore scene in Maryland. So I'm from Maryland originally. And I moved here like in 2016. So before then, there were like, guys who were like just a little bit older that who were like all in on Deftones.
Word.
So I just
Like
picked up on.
in the hardcore scene?
Yeah, that was like literally when I like just started. So I was like, everything was new, and it wasn't just like metal and hardcore. There were like a bunch of other bands. Like the scene that I like kind of started out in, there were like a different like weird metal bands or like pop bands or like just alt rock bands. Just like it was just like a mesh of different things.
It's like playing house parties, playing neighborhoods, playing clubs, or what was the
Like a lot of VFW halls around that area, and I played like some kid's like 16th birthday, but I was so sick and I was like miserable all day, and I was like playing the keyboard like with like tissues in my nose, like that kind of like nothing big or crazy.
really? So
Yeah.
you were 15, 16 playing shows already at and you played keys?
Yeah, the first thing I did was I had like a micro Korg, a Korg mic. There's like a tiny synth, and I started playing that. And then the bass player in the band that I was in, my first band, their bass player left, and bass was my primary instrument at that point. So it's just like I'll just be the bass player.
Word.
Yeah.
So microcork, is that the shit that Steph plays on Saturday Night Wrist? Is that a
No,
microcork?
um I think they use like a Nord. It's like a huge like red keyboard. That's like
There
uh
are live shows though that I've seen him play this like really. I could probably Google it and slide you a link where like
yeah.
actually that Wembley show, I'm pretty sure he's playing that thing, and
For real?
I think it's like the Saturday Night Wrist songs
Oh
where he's
really?
playing this like little
I would
keyboard.
I
It's
would
like a little
believe
mini
it. Like
keyboard.
I would believe it because like I think during that time is when it came out, and like everyone had one of those. Like
So weird to see Steph Carpenter doing that.
he was playing synth.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Okay, hold on a second.
I've seen a photo of him playing bass, maybe.
Really?
Well, no. I think that might have been Chino
Okay.
playing bass.
So I'm almost certain it is that Wembley show that I was just talking to you about. And I'm going to take a brief moment of digression to pull it up and share it with you, because if you were playing this thing, then that is some fucking cool insight that you might be able to perhaps.
Oh, if he's using the Korg micro Korg, I gotta like find out what patch he used and like just hunt it down.
Talking about, dude, it blows my mind to see like this dude that you think of for. God, it sucks that I've watched so many of these shows because now I can't figure out what he was playing, and that would be so crucial.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Stephen Carpenter keyboard. Every picture of him is like with like the sickest looking guitar in the world. The Louis V guitar being my favorite, probably.
Which one is that? Oh, with the Louis Vuitton. I like that pink camo.
Oh, the pink camo is sick too.
The
I
pink
love.
camo is cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so like I don't know, cornballish and
Yo, he just like does
cool. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got I've watched like he has a few like rig rundown videos. I've watched I think probably every single one.
Oh man, now
He's got a bunch of wacky stuff.
Going on a goose chase, and that sucks. I don't want to deviate for too long here.
I'll hunt it down. Yeah,
okay, well, that is some awfully heady techie gear shit. So okay, I digress. So where were we? Do you recall?
When I got into the band.
Please.
Yeah. I think the first songs I heard off of that were like Cherry Ways, and then I remember I watched like a guy doing a guitar cover of Rats. And
oh, really?
Like, yeah, because like that song is in like the beginning of it is in like a weird time signature, So I was like into like super mathy shit around that time.
Yeah. What else were you listening to?
I think like around that time, there's this sick band called Terra Melos from like somewhere in California. And they have like the early stuff, it was like a 3-piece, and it was a lot of like jazz, like it kind of like jazzy, like instrumental, like math rock, where like the guitar player is like playing up here and he's like doing like 2-hand shit. But it's like really melodic and like hooky. It isn't like just like shred fest type stuff. So I was like way into that, and like they're not super mathy, but like At the Drive-In, you're like kind of weird, like angular, like post-hardcore type stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was what I was listening to at that point.
And were you playing guitar at all, or just bass? And what were you? Did you say you were playing keyboards and keyboards?
At that point, I've been playing bass for like maybe 2 years and guitar for like 1. So I started playing guitar like a year after. I saved up a bunch of money for my first job, and I went to my local guitar store and I was like, give me that guitar. And it was like an Ibanez S series guitar, like super thin, like weighed like 2 pounds. Cause I think like that band Between the Buried and Me, for like the video for the song Alaska, both of them were playing like Ibanez S series guitars. And I was like, I want that, because it was in that video.
That's rad. That's super cool. Were your friends into the same kind of music as you? Were any of them into Deftones?
I don't think I met anyone who listened to Deftones until like, I don't know, until I started like playing in bands and stuff. Like in my high school, I didn't know anyone who listened to like weird, like heavy music, like at all. It wasn't like, it just wasn't what like they listened to. I mean, there might've been some people who did, but I never knew.
It's like a small fraction, like we're like a weird small fraction of the world that has continued to grow and like come out the woodwork. It feels like
Yeah.
Deftones fans, people who love Deftones music.
Oh yeah.
What?
I read an article when was it recently that, yeah, because it was like recently was the 20th anniversary, right?
Yeah, White Pony.
Yeah, there was an article I read on some website where like a bunch of like actors and stuff were talking about how they like first listened to White Pony, and they were like, whoa.
Yeah, like Colin Hanks and shit.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in that, and I was like, Colin Hanks. All right.
I know. I want him on the podcast so bad.
Oh, that would be this, and just not even bug him about like Tom Hanks or anything. Like, yo, you love Deftones.
You love Deftones. I know, right? That's cool as shit.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like I would geek out. Like, I really want to ask Colin Hanks, like, who would play Deftones in a movie about Deftones? Like, who would be the actors who would play? Wouldn't that be a fun question to ask an actor? Cool. I don't know, because I don't know. Like, I literally can't think of anybody who would do it or be cool. I don't know. I just don't know.
I'd watch the shit out of that movie, though.
I would watch them. Yes, hell yes. there are movies about Deftones, but no like theatrical releases. I think a theatrical release would be fun.
They could probably pull off like the artsy documentary type thing.
Yeah, that would be another good question. Like, in what sort of fashion would, like, who would direct that movie? Even that would be a good question, because that would make all the difference in the world. Like the Zack Snyder cut of the Deftones movie would be.
Oh, that would be sick.
Be different, right?
They're probably like, I guarantee. I mean, I don't know who they are, but they're probably like big Hollywood like director types who were like, you know, like I fucking love.
You know, it blew my mind when I heard. Oh shit! Now all of a sudden it's I'm drawing a blank. There was a song in one of the Fast and Furious movies, and now I can't think of it. But I was like, oh shit! That's a Deftones song.
Yo, there was like I don't know what movie it is, but I remember like one song off it might have been like Engine Number 9 or something, like plays in a fight scene.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe like Gerard Butler was in it.
No shit.
Something. I could be totally wrong, but I just remember I remember like looking up Engine Number 9 on YouTube, and like a bunch of comments were like, "Yo, that fight scene in this one movie." This song.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
respect to Gerard Butler. I got to go find out which. The only thing that I can think of off the top is 300. Like I don't know. I don't think I've seen any of his other movies. That's too
I
bad.
don't even know what movie it was, but
And
definitely like it was fight scene music. That I know
and
for sure.
I feel that. I think that's a good. And I mean, everybody knows about their appearance in the Crow sequel, which is also just sort of weird for that. It's sort of that moment in time, but like a real theatrical Deftones release. I'm into that. I think that would be a thing. That would be a cool thing. Okay, so you're in Maryland.
Mhm.
You are in a band at about 15, 16.
Yeah,
You start
16.
joining.
I
You
think at
start
that
getting
point,
into.
16. Yeah.
When did you get to like? Pardon me if I'm jumping ahead a little bit, and
No.
and catch me up if I am. How did you end up in Nashville?
I was in this one band in Maryland in like 2012, and we were trying to find out who we should like. We had 5 songs, and we were like, who do we record with? And we had it was like a choice between 2 guys. One was this guy named Drew Folk. He was like he might have been out of like North Carolina or South Carolina or something. And he's done. At that point, like he was doing like smaller bands, but now he's done like bigger bands, and he's been like like producers on bigger songs. So he's still like killing it. And then the other guy was this guy Brian Hood, who's also still killing it. Who he did like this band Gideon, who's also from like kind of here in Alabama. He did their first 2 records, and he was the drummer for that band My Children My Bride, if you know that band at all. He was like a crazy talented drummer who just like taught himself how to like record,
Cool.
and like his recordings just sounded crazy. So we're like, yo, let's just go to Nashville for 10 days and record with him. And when we were here, I mean, the place where he was at was like right off of Broadway. Like you could walk to downtown Nashville, and that's like like the super touristy area. But we're like, we're here in Nashville. Just do touristy shit. So while I was there, I was like, this place rocks. Like I want to live here. And
And that's
then,
it. And you just decided to pull the trigger. You were like, "That's it. I want to live here."
well, it was like a slow burn. So that was like 2012. And I brought it up to my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, like, yo, in like, I don't know when, but like, let's move to Nashville. And then, 4 years later, we made the move.
Wow, that's sick. That seems like such a I don't know, often like a whimsical sort of aspirational thing. Like that's this place. I mean, I can't think of how many times my wife and I have been on vacation. Like, why don't we live here?
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
still live here in Minnesota where it's snowing in October. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, such is life. So you get to Nashville.
Yeah.
How long is it before you join Pinion?
It must have been like maybe like a few months, I think. So I came down here in like the very beginning, like January 2016. And by the summer, I was playing in Pinion. So I think there were like maybe like 6 months of like downtime.
Like
And
looking for a band and like trying to find out, connect with somebody
I
who.
didn't even know, like, I thought I'd come down here and like play in like an alt rock band or like, I don't even know. And then, uh, like I was working at Chewy's. Do you know that restaurant at all?
Mm-mm.
It's like a Tex-Mex place. I was there, and one girl who worked there like noticed like one of my tattoos, and she was just like started a conversation, and she's like, oh, this one band Pinion put out like their like a few songs like a few days ago, you should check them out. And then I think she also was like, they also need a guitar player. So I just like messaged them on Facebook, and I sent them a bunch of songs that I did. And I was like, I heard you need a guitar player. Here's some of my music, so you know how I write. And they were like, you're fucking in the band.
That's rad. Like they heard it and they were like, please come over here and do your
Yeah.
thing. That's cool. So and then how long was that between you being in the band and Zach joining the band?
It might have been like maybe like another 6 months, maybe
Yeah.
maybe 5 6 months, because I think he joined in like the winter.
And who else is in the band? Who else was in Pinion that is in 30 Nights of Violence?
Just me, Ethan, and Zach.
Ethan. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Ethan was in the band. Ethan was in Pinion.
And he preceded you in Pinion?
Yeah, he was already the drummer at that point. So, I remember like the first practice. I was like, this kid's fucking crazy.
Word.
Like
That's
I
cool.
was already like, this guy's like one of the best drummers I've ever played with in my life.
That's cool as shit. That's awesome. And do you remember how covering My Own Summer came about? That was you guys, right? You guys covered My
Yeah,
Own
we
Summer?
did cover that. It was funny because we were like a grind band, and we just were like, "Fuck it." It might have come up in conversation like what kind of like cover would we want to do, and I think everyone, I don't remember who brought it up, but we were all just like, "Yeah, let's do it. That's perfect." Like everyone, like everyone knows it, so it was always just like when that song plays, people are like,
Was it weird to you? Was it a trip to you, like being in that band and then like connecting with, like playing the style of music that you played and then connecting with Deftones fans?
"Yeah, I never like met so many Deftones fans in my life." So I was just like, other people who love this band as much as I do. This is awesome.
Isn't that weird? Doesn't that trip you up? Like, because there just seems to be like a scarcity of them in your immediate, like within arm's reach. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I have to really, I mean, I work at a radio station, so I guess they're the people who love different varieties of music are a little more accessible.
Mm.
But in normal life, you know what I mean, and outside of music life,
Yeah.
Deftones fans are like, where are they?
Yeah.
How come I don't I feel like I should know, everybody I know should be a Deftones
Yeah.
fan. It fucks me up a little bit.
My wife is a Deftones fan, so that's always a bonus.
Is she really?
Yeah.
So how did you come to find out that your wife is a Deftones fan?
I don't even remember.
Did you play music for her, or did she like come to the table with the knowledge?
She might have.
Because I've
Like I
introduced
must have
my
been like,
wife.
yo,
And
check out this song by Deftones, and she's like, I've already heard this song. I don't.
oh, word, that's sick.
I mean, I truthfully, I don't remember, but
Dude, if
like,
my wife ever said some shit like that to me, I would make sweet love to her right away. Passionate. We would have 3 children. I tell you that for sure.
like
That's
she'll
cool stuff.
a lot of the times when she's getting ready for work, I'll hear like Swerve City playing.
That's ill.
Yeah.
Do you ever bop with Deftones for like warm up music, that sort of thing? Get you hyped? I mean, other than asking or going out on dates with girls and stuff, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like all the like if I want to like get like pumped, like I could just put on however many like super heavy Deftones songs. So I could be like, like I'm mad, I want to listen to X amount of Deftones songs, or like I'm in like a sentimental mood. I could also, it's the same band. I don't have to switch it up.
I love that. I love that. There's something that made that like there's something about what you've just pointed out that has made it so easy for me to continually like because my whole listening was jacked, when the pandemic started and having a baby at like right at the beginning. So it was like I got no time, no space for that. And like that's okay because they have this body of work that is so rich and deep and full and that I'm familiar with all of it. Like the entire catalog is just
Yeah.
accessible in that way. It's unique and it's not like, and I don't mean to shit on Tool because they're a great band, but like I don't think you could just listen to all of Tool's music. I don't think I could listen to all of Tool's music just in one sitting, but like I could easily do that with Deftones. Maybe
No,
that's just me.
I get that. I like Tool enough, but they're one of the bands I don't think I've given them like enough time. Like
That's fair.
I've like put on like feel like when I listen to that band, like I can only listen to so much at one time.
Yeah.
It's not like I dislike it. I'm like, God, this song's like fucking 12 minutes long.
It's still on.
And I like long songs too. Like I like Dope Smoker by Sleep is like one of my favorite things, and that's like an hour.
Right.
But I don't know.
But yeah. Tool it's different. It's a different thing. And I think it takes a different side of the brain, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I asked this question of Zach, and I would like to pose it to you as well. If 30 Nights were going to cover a Deftones song,
Mhm.
what would it be? Would you do it? Would it? What? I guess would you do it is also a fair part of the question, but
Yeah,
what would it be was definitely the main part of the question.
I think Zach probably gave the same answer, but I think like Lotion would be one, and like uh I always wanted to cover the like opening section of MX to like introduce a set, because it's like, all right, we got the name of the band from the song. Like I would love to open a set with just like the opening part, and then go into like, whatever.
That is cool as shit. You should totally do that.
I would
totally do that.
We
don't even like talk about it. It's not up for discussion. You guys should totally do that. It's such a cool way of like not having to like totally pay homage or to like do a song, but you do get to pay homage, or you get to, like total tip of the hat and acknowledge like, yes, we're owning this. I think that's a fucking cool idea.
Yeah.
Zach had nothing near that smart or cool. I'm just I'm gonna edit that.
I'm sure he had great answers.
No, he did.
Yeah, I would love to do Lotion at the beginning of MX. There was one, oh my god, I can't believe I don't remember the name of the song. Off White Pony, where it's like, here's my new address.
Yeah, that's Streetcar.
Yeah. There's a one line in it where he says like for the phone number like 615 or something. And we were like, yo, that's the area code for Nashville. Let's use it in like, so I made like a sample to like start off a set using the 615, and it just like kept it like looped. And then like I used like a Microsoft, like not Microsoft Sam, but like the female version of Microsoft Sam to like say like 615, and then the set starts with like, I have it. I should send it to you. It gets me hyped.
Ew. That is cool as shit. That's almost cooler than your other idea.
Dude. I tried to find the like every once in a while you can find like vocal stems for songs, like just the vocals only, like a cappella. And I was looking everywhere for the just like the a cappella version of that. So it would just be his voice. But there might have been at some point, like one dude was like, oh, it's at this site, but the comment was deleted or something, or like the website was down. So I ended up just like ripping the song, but I was like, I looked for like hours, like Streetcar a cappella.
Dude, that is such a cool idea. I really, really hope that you guys get a chance to pull that off, because I would be super hyped. I mean, especially at a hardcore show, like, well, yeah. I mean, you guys aren't, you're like a metalcore. I hate tossing people into a box, but it's not a Deftones show, but I feel like a lot of people in this genre of music, in these genres of music that people are into Deftones, right? Like people, or are at least familiar with the fucking
it's like
your body of work.
Like hardcore adjacent or something, like it has like the intensity of like hardcore and stuff, and they have like ties to the scene and like, like some way, whether it was like, they like the band Willhaven, like they rolled with them because they were like the same city, or like they took out Glassjaw like in the early 2000s. Or, they even I remember like they did a few runs with Code Orange. So, they're like, it's like they're part of like, they're not like in the scene, but they're like, they're around it.
Yeah.
So it's easy for kids to be like, I fuck with this super, super heavy band, and I also fuck with Deftones because they, they're just so good.
It's that's super right on the nose. So from a guitar perspective, just from a guitar perspective, like what would you want to play if 30 Nights were going to cover a Deftones song purely from the guitar angle?
That's a good question. I've toyed with the idea of like we could pull off Rocket Skates. Like Steph plays it in a different kind of tuning. Like, so he plays that on an 8-string guitar, but he doesn't hit the low string on that. He like rides the string above the lowest string, which is a B. Like open, it's a B note, and we tuned to drop B. And I was like, all right, we're not playing in the exact same tuning, but it's like in the same key. And I like worked it around into like, oh, we could pull, because he does like weird chords in that tuning that we can't necessarily pull off, but we can like kind of pull off. So I would love to cover Rocket Skates, because it's also just like, just like super, it's like driving. And I know that we want to incorporate like more keyboard stuff. So Zach could do the bridge part where the
That shit is so ill. I love that part of the song too. And Zach could knock that out of the park vocally.
Oh yeah.
And he loves that song. I mean, he brings it up at any opportunity. He loves that song.
The vocals are like super, like the verses are like super distorted, like almost like through a, like he's just like yelling into like a handheld mic, and just sounds just like super filtered and like angry. But then like, Jake could do the singing part or whatever, I think it would be sick. I think we could pull it off.
I think that would be sick. I really hope you guys, if you at least take a crack at it and record it, you could just send it over to me. I think that.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your favorite Deftones albums. Let's just go top 3 and your favorite song from those 3.
Okay, so my favorite is Diamond Eyes. And so like, I know that, like, I remember when we talked before, like the first album that people like hear is usually like their favorite one, especially if they were young when they heard it. But I think it was like maybe a few years, definitely like a few years later when Diamond Eyes came out in like 2010, like I'd been listening to the band. And then like, I didn't get the record right away. Like I got it like a few years later. I bought Coy and Diamond Eyes at the same time. And because I was like, let me just catch up. Let me just play catch up with Deftones.
Cool.
Or like their newer shit.
Yeah.
And so I played them back to back. And like Diamond Eyes is like, it's like a more fun record. Like it's not like happy, but it's more like fun, kind of like a little bit more upbeat. It has like big angry songs, but it also has like soft, like softer ones, like, like Sex Tape or whatever.
Yeah.
But my favorite from that one is 976 Evil. It's the second to last track.
Oh, word. Cool.
Which I remember when I heard it, I didn't like it the first time. And then it was one of those songs that just like grew on me. And then by like, like the 10th listen, I'm like, this song fucking rocks. And it's my favorite one. It just has like this weird chorus where like it goes like out of key a little bit or like changes it up. And I think like maybe the first time it threw me off, but like after that, I was like, oh, it's so cool that they do that.
That's rad.
So that's my favorite one off Diamond Eyes. And then my second favorite one is Coy. So like I guess like the newer stuff that they did. Off of that one, I would say Entombed is my favorite one.
Cool.
It would be like there are a lot of bangers on that one. Like I love Poltergeist, I love Entombed, and then I love Rosemary, because the end of Rosemary is so heavy. That's definitely Steph, like I'm gonna be Meshuggah for the end of this song, like for real. But definitely Entombed, because it just like I think like at that point I knew that I was gonna have a kid. I was gonna have a daughter, and like the lyrics for that song are like just remind me of like being a baby, and like it sounds like very warm and like motherly and like loving. Totally. So like I remember when I first heard that song and like I knew that I was gonna have a kid, I was just like, oh
yeah, man, I feel that. I totally.
And like the chorus, like colors and shapes are all I see. I'm just like, I don't know. It could also be like, I don't know if Chino was writing that in mind of like, Chi is like, in a coma and maybe all he can see are like, shapes and colors and stuff. I don't know. It was just like a very emotional song.
Truly.
So that's my second favorite. And then third is Around the Fur. just because it's like such a raw album, and like it's like unhinged and like riff after riff after riff. Um, I think off of that one, my favorite one would be it might be like Ricketts.
Word.
I think that might be because it's just like
Yeah.
you know, and that's like above like My Own Summer and like Be Quiet. Like I love those songs. Like no shade to those songs at all. I love them. But like Ricketts is just like so pissed. Like the verse where it's just drum, bass, and Chino like, you know, like it sounds like he's holding the mic like right here.
It's such a trip to I feel like to listen to that song against any of the songs where he's so soft and like shoegazy or whatever, like just
Yeah.
singing, you know what I mean, where he's singing, because it's like, I don't know, it's just, it sticks out. I can't describe it because you know you associate some of the rappy stuff or whatever, especially you know with the categorization of new metal, but then the singing stuff, and then that one is like, until the chorus, like it's vocally, it's just like I wonder where that influence, like there had to be something that they somewhere that they got that from, because it's so muffled and like
Oh
you
yeah.
really don't know
What he's saying really.
at
Unless you
all.
like
Like,
look at the lyric book or whatever, you're like, what did
yeah,
he
like I
say?
drink too much. Like I know you're talking about some drinking, but like what
He does
that,
stuff too much.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
He like sleep. He like pisses too much. I don't know.
He thinks he's
What's going
thinking too
on?
much. Might have thought too much about the vocals. No, but the song just fucking. Yeah, I love that. They opened with that at the last Dia de los Deftones, and I was just like, fucking. I was in it at that point. It was like it's a wrap. So I wonder if you sort of talked about the Meshuggah thing, and I think a lot of people talk about the Meshuggah thing. But as a guitarist, like
Mhm.
Steph Carpenter,
Yeah.
what makes this dude special?
I don't know. Like sometimes I think like I've watched videos of him like play guitar, like do demos for like gear and stuff. There was one he did for like I'm trying to remember what it was, but he was like barely playing the guitar, and I was like, he's so stoned right now. I was like, he's like barely, he's like hanging on to like the grass as he's like being pulled into space, like he's that high, but like I don't know what happens because like the
So
stuff
good.
that he writes, I think is just so cool. I don't like. It's almost like he's got like this superpower. Like, all right, he's gonna like turn on this. Like, you know, like I watched that video where he's like barely playing guitar, but then like I'm sure he, you know, he's just coming up with these sick riffs.
Yeah.
I love him. I love Steph.
There's something about the dude that like is very genuine and like only really does something if he thinks it's cool. And like
Yeah.
that's bottom line, like ground zero, entry level is it cool? Because
Yeah.
I don't like, that's what I want to do, is something that I think is cool. And
Oh yeah.
that being your like entry point, it's wide open from there.
I just love how like he's just like I can't shred. You know, he's like he always like downplays himself. Like I'm not a good guitar player, and like I can't shred either. So I'm like Steph is my hero. But he, you know, he just writes sick riffs. So that's all I need.
Doesn't it trip you out? Like no guitar solos, like none. There aren't any guitar solos. You know what I mean?
There is one, and Jerry Cantrell does it.
I know.
You know?
It's so funny. And they're like open. They're like, well, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So, but that's so like, again, I think there's something about their willingness to just serve the song and to serve like collectively, like let's get all of those other things out of the way and just do like do the song justice.
Yeah. I agree. I like I think you know all the stuff that they do is like super purposeful, and I don't know, like the riffs that they write, whether it's Chino or Steph, it just clicks with me. It just like hits that thing that I like in my brain, and I just like bob my head.
Is there an influence in your music? Like, do you hear, is there a song that you could point to and be like, there's some Deftones influence here?
Yeah. Definitely there's a song off the most recent EP You'll See Me Up There, like In Vain. I was like because like Stephen Chino will write like these weird, like kind of like dissonant chords that sound really beautiful. And I had like this one chord progression in mind, like for like years. And for that one, I finally got to use it. And it has like, like just like it's like a groove over this guitar riff. And I was like, this is definitely like the Deftones part or whatever. But and then there's one song, the first song off the first EP, where it has like Zach does kind of do like muffled vocals like Ricketts. I think that was like the vibe for that, like for that one. And like going forward, there's a lot of like, we're not going to be, I think like the thing that we're going to try to do is like not do like as much like metalcore type stuff, just kind of like try to like do what we really want. And there are things that I've been wanting to try that Deftones have done. Like I've been trying to do this forever, where like Chino plays for the newer stuff, like Steph plays an 8-string guitar, Chino plays a 6-string, and they're tuned differently. They're not tuned in like the same way. And I've been wanting to write a song where like I play an 8-string guitar, our other guitarist James plays his guitar in like drop B tuning, which is what we normally use. And it makes sense because a lot of those strings, like a lot of the open strings in those two tunings, like match up. So like Jake, if he was playing bass, wouldn't have to like change tuning at all. He wouldn't have to do anything. Like he could play in drop B, and he could also play in like, if I'm hitting a low note on the 8-string, which is like an F sharp, that's like the same note as an open string on a bass and drop B. Like super dorky, like guitar stuff. But I was like, I want to write a song in 2 different tunings, like the way Deftones have. I think it would be just really cool. So that's one thing that I want to try for the newer stuff. And then also like, they run for like, they do so much stuff. Like Teenager is like just like a trip hop song, and like they just do all this kind of stuff. And there are things I want to try. It's not like I'm like, oh, let's rip off Deftones that's never like the goal. It's always like, I love how they do this and how they approach XYZ. I want to try to approach something from this angle and, make our own song out of this, but like taking a different approach that maybe they have or whatever.
There's something about the door being wide open, right? And like finding whatever like you can weave through in what you're capable of, what your sound is, or what your musicians do. They've like, if you can weave that through all of that thread, through your music, you can kind of play, right? And that's sort of what you're talking about, I think, to a degree. Also, you really want to fucking get an 8-string guitar.
Oh, I've got one right here. I'll show you.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, look at that bad. Does that just like, is it hard to play? Like what do you like if you're gonna play all of it? Like, is it?
No, it's not super hard. Like there's even like
Are you gonna plug in? You look like you're about to plug in.
No, I don't have a.
Okay, good. I was gonna. I don't know if my shit can handle it. I don't know if I'm on this end. Zoom ain't ready.
They do a lot of, like big. So like I'm trying to do like a lot of like big kind of like beautiful chords. Like that kind of stuff.
That's cool as shit.
Yeah.
That's cool as shit. And that.
But it's just.
You think you would you afford yourself that opportunity were you not in a band called 30 Nights of Violence?
Would I what?
Would you not like give yourself this liberty? Do you think you would explore like these aspects of music so heavily were it not being in this band that's 30 Nights of Violence? Like,
I think like because I'm like in this band and we all have like this mutual love of Deftones, we can go, oh, they, on Rosemary, Chino plays a guitar in like this weird ass tuning, and Steph does, he's in this weird tuning, and they've tried stuff on this, and they can be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So they can, they get it, and we can be like, oh, let's try out these cool things. But if I was in like a different, like an alt rock band, I think it might be a little different.
And how I like to conclude every episode is with a request for 3 recommendations. This is inspired by something Chino said on a podcast, that he only tweets links to music that he likes because he thinks that's the coolest shit that he could share on social media. So 3 recommendations. Kelly from 30 Nights of Violence.
One, it was this band called Eveline, and I don't think they're around anymore, but I remember I went to Warped Tour in 2007, and I was hanging around, I think it was like the Ernie Ball stage or whatever. It was like a smaller one. And I was waiting to see the Chariot, and I showed up early, and there was this band on stage called Eveline, and they were just like losing it. And like at one point the singer like brought out a cello and was like playing the cello. And I was like, yo, what band is this? And I didn't buy their CD, but I went home and I downloaded it off iTunes or whatever. And they have an EP called, I think it's like Postpartum Modesty, and it's 6 songs, and like it has like a little bit of a Deftones vibe as far as like atmosphere goes. It's just like really like energetic rock, and the production that they did on it is like unreal. I think they got backed by Warner, so I think it kind of had like a pretty big budget for like a small band.
It sounds vaguely familiar. I'm not going to lie. I'm almost certain that I went to Warped Tour that year and saw this band that you're talking about. Yeah. I'm
I don't think they never like blew up. The record that they put out after that, I didn't like that much, but like that first EP is like kind of unreal, and it is on Spotify, I think. So that's one recommendation. A game for the Nintendo GameCube, Phantasy Star Online.
Nice.
I think the first online game for the GameCube, and I've put in many, many hours on this game. Yeah. And so it's like an online game for the GameCube, and they released like a GameCube controller. In the middle of it is a giant keyboard, and it's just like the weirdest looking thing. So I think that's interesting. So Phantasy Star Online, episode 1 and 2, for a game recommendation. And then lastly, I'll recommend a manga, which is like a Japanese comics. It's a series called Goodnight Punpun, and the art and story for it is like completely unreal. It takes like a very strange turn at the end, but it's mostly, the story is about like this boy who grows up. It starts when he's like maybe 10 or 12 years old, and then it goes until like his early 20s. So it's like his life through then and how it changes. Very cool.
Kelly Cook from 30 Nights of Violence. I mentioned in the previous episode with Zach from 30 Nights that I initially spoke with him and Kelly together, but for reasons I won't get into because they make me look bad, I lost half of the conversation. However, I was able to hold on to the part of our conversation where we talked about our dream set list. Zach's is in the last episode, but I'll share mine and Kelly's with you here.
All right, so I wanted to be conscious about the fact that they just put out an album. So Genesis, I think like starting a set with a will be kind of sick. You've Seen the Butcher, 2. Swerve City, Into Rocket Skates, Change, Elite, Rosemary, Hole in the Earth, and then Around the Fur and Be Quiet and Drive.
Bangers, everyone.
It's, you know what kills me is that I didn't put Be Quiet and Drive on my list, and it's like my favorite song of all time. Like it's the song that I always think of when I think of like that's my favorite song of all time. Like that's the song, and I didn't even put it in my slap me in the face. What? Okay, let me share my 10 song dream set list. Although my dream set list would be like 30 songs. So I've got Lotion, Fate to Sarah, Ceremony is one of my 2 off of Ohms, followed by Battle Axe. From the Sea. I'm going Rocket Skates because even though I've seen it a bajillion fucking times, that song fucking rips. Royal, I'm sticking with Diamond Eyes with the follow-up to that because the last like minute of Royal is maybe my favorite like piece of heavy music in the annals or annals of heavy music. I'm gonna follow that with my second song from Ohms. I'm gonna go Spell of Mathematics, and then for my final 3, my what's it called, if you will?
Sprint to the end.
Yeah,
There you go.
Sprint to the end. I'm going Korea, My Own
Nice.
Summer,
Mm.
and Root. That's how I'm closing.
Ooh, a root closer.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I figured that would
Solid.
be. Haven't seen it many times. Wasn't actively a fan in the Adrenaline era, and I think I've seen it maybe once or twice. But man, I love that song. That
Yeah,
song is. Just,
I almost wanted to throw a Minus Blindfold into my last three. Probably could have replaced Rats now that I'm thinking about it, but it's all good.
That really is a lot of fun to think about. A dream set list. Shit, live music is fun to think about. Again, please share your set list with me. I'm at Woodbruh on Twitter and Instagram. Let's be friends. You can slide in my DMs. To be honest, my dream is a 3-hour set. Dia de los Deftones 2021. Take me back to San Diego. Vaccinate me. Let's go. Thanks again to Kelly Cook. Please go listen to 30 Nights of Violence. Buy their stuff. They're awesome. And please come back next week for the season finale, my conversation with Bron Daylor from Mastodon. He'll tell us what it was like on the Black Diamond Sky Tour, Deftones, Mastodon, and Alice in Chains. There have been some pretty phenomenal bills over the years, but that's one of the most amazing for sure. My name is Woody. You can find me on the radio 6 nights a week in Minneapolis, Saturday nights at 10. Catch me and my buddy Graham on The Pit, our metal show. If you're not in Minnesota, you can listen on 93x.com. Thanks for checking it out. Thank you for listening to Deftones, and thank you for listening to Change in the House of Pods.